to our technology session number 2 with Michael Sharon.
That was a really awesome introduction. Thank you very much. Okay, so social media. I want to dovetail in with what Howard spoke about a lot during his session. He said several times that it's not about pushing, it's about pulling. It's about creating relationships. Technology is as much about people as it is about gear and websites and programs. It's about managing the relationship first, and then once you've established that relationship, how do we use technology to leverage that relationship to get people to do what we want them to do. One quick bit of housekeeping. Larry here, Larry, raise your hand. He's going to be going around and taking some B-roll of this. We're recording this whole event to put on YouTube later so that other Rotarians in the district can get value from this conversation that we're having. And when you ask questions, he's going to come and film you as you're asking the question, straightforward. So don't be alarmed when there's a guy with a camera in your face. He's very nice. He doesn't bite my problem. Okay, so social media is a mass marketing strategy. Okay, I know there's a lot of discussion that we could have on what social media is, and we could all argue all day long about what makes a good social network, what makes a good social media. But for our conversation, social media is a mass marketing strategy. Think of it in the same way that you do, flyers or posters or any number of marketing strategies that you've practiced before, but instead of, like we said, pushing content out to people, you're pulling content. You're creating a relationship with them. You're giving them a reason to want to listen to you. Why do I want to read an email that comes from the president of my club if I don't know that email has value? So we're going to talk about how to use social media to create value, to convince people that they want to listen to what your message is. The way that we're going to do that is we're going to talk about an event. I'm a member and acting president of Camelback Crossroads Rotary Club. We are a satellite club of Tempe Rio Salado. The Satellite Club is a new pilot project that comes from RI, and it's designed to encourage the new generations to create clubs that work with existing Rotary clubs, so that you don't have to create a charter, have your own e-board, all that kind of thing. So we use social media extensively to promote this event. So I want to use this event as a practical example of how you use social media to promote a project, and then hopefully you can take some of this information back to your clubs and use that. If I lose anybody, I want you to raise a hand, because I know I have a tendency to talk kind of quickly, and I'll cover things very quickly. So if you get lost, please don't be nervous. Just let me know so that I can kind of back up and hopefully cover the material more thoroughly. Right. So the Boulder House was an event, like I said, that my club put together to raise money for End Polio Now and for Shen Yun Performing Arts. End Polio Now you're already familiar with. Shen Yun is a show that's based on Chinese culture, ancient Chinese culture. It's a dance extravaganza. It's very beautiful, and they're a performing arts group that's out of New York. They tour around the country. It's rather expensive to put together, so there are several nonprofit groups all throughout the country that help the show move around promoting ancient Chinese culture. It's a very cool experience. But it's also very expensive for them to put together, so they do a lot of fundraising. One of the members of my club, Nick Janighi, Nick and his wife, Holly Janighi, came to me and said, hey, let's do this fundraiser. I have this relationship that I want to leverage, and that relationship was with the Boulder House. And real quick, Boulder House is it's a house that's in North Scottsdale. It's really incredible. It's basically a series of rocks that were positioned in such a way, naturally, that Native American cultures could use to determine when to plant crops. They could, based on the solstice, they knew, okay, this is a good time in the fall or the summer to plant crops. Fast forward to the 1980s, and a family bought the land that the boulders were sitting on, and they built a house around it. They hired an amazing architect, who I'm sure was very excited to work on this project, and created this amazing house around it. I mean, it's like no house you've ever seen. There's no right angles. Doors are not square. You can't buy this at Home Depot. This is something that somebody had to come in and kind of create on their own. Nick met, from promoting Shin Yun, a member of the Fort McDowell tribe, that group. They currently own the Boulder House. It's since been sold to this tribe. And he met them at a fundraising event, and these two gentlemen just hit it off. They just recognized that they were both men of quality, let's say, and they wanted to help each other out. So the manager of the Boulder House gave Nick the keys, and he said, you can do whatever fundraising you want for the next 2 months. Just let us know ahead of time, and we'll help you put this together. So Nick came to me and said, hey, let's do a fundraiser. I said, great, let's do that. That'll be fantastic. So we kind of threw together over the course of about a month an event, and we promoted it, like I said, heavily through social media. And the end result was that we had about 70 people show up. We were able to raise just a little bit over $2,100 total. That was after we paid for our catering, which was fairly inexpensive. It was donated through another group. And it was a really great time. We had a silent auction came out. We were able to auction some pretty high quality goods. And you know, for a first-time fundraiser, I was really happy with the way it turned out. You know, had a couple hiccups along the way, but that's part of the learning process. You know, if for our first time, you know, our first go at it, I was just absolutely ecstatic. So let's talk about how did we accomplish that. The very first thing that any club should do when they're trying to determine, you know, how do we promote this event? How do we want to get our message out? You got to sit down and write down the who, what, when, where, why. Just like you guys probably remember from high school when you would talk about journalism, or you talk about newspaper articles, or writing content. Those were the things that you had to write down first before you try to write a story, right? You should do that with your events, because you're going to use that information over and over, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's on Twitter, whether it's on your website, whether it's on Eventbrite, anywhere that you're going to promote this information, you need to have this data quickly. So the very first thing that your club should do, whoever's managing a project, write down the relevant details, have it in a document that you can easily share throughout the club. Okay? So we did that first. Before the event, before you actually start doing your promotion, the very, very most important thing you need to have before you do any other work is have a professional looking website. It's non-negotiable. If you don't have a professional looking website, it should be your club's #1 priority. The reason being, statistically speaking, they've done a lot of marketing research, and for folks that are under the age of 40, if it's their first exposure to your business or organization, if you do not have a professional looking website, they're gone. That's the first place they're going to go to research you, to determine whether or not they want to create a relationship with you. So if your website looks like something that's out of 1992, you're in trouble, and you should direct as much resources as you can towards fixing it. So real quick, I'm going to ask you guys, how would you solve that problem? If you have a website that maybe you're not happy with, what would your club do?
Find someone who is a website developer to help us with it.
Absolutely, and that's been a sound strategy in Rotary for many, many years, right? If you have a club that needs something, let's either look within our membership to find someone who's capable of doing that, or let's go out and recruit someone who's willing to do that. I think that's a fantastic strategy.
I was thinking too, on our website's kind of outdated, and so we kind of created this satellite club. We thought we got some web tech guy in there that maybe he could help us with ours.
Yeah, that might happen. There might have been a conversation about that at some point, but I can't confirm or deny it. No, so that's a sound strategy. There's one problem that you should think about, and I'm not saying that this means you shouldn't find a person who's willing to build a website for you for free, but this is something you should keep in mind. If you have all your technology eggs in one basket, i.e. a guy like me, right? I only have so much time, and I only have so much desire. So let's say I build you a website, it looks great, you're happy with it, 4 years down the road, it's going to change. You're going to want a new site. There's something that's going to, that'll need to happen. And what if I got there? Either maybe I get hit by a bus. I drop out of Rotary for one reason or another. I just don't want to do it. Who knows, right? So another option that I know a lot of clubs have done is Club Runner. These paid services that we use to build websites. They're okay. They're kind of one size fits all. They've created one software package that can supposedly serve all the needs of any Rotary club that will ever exist. What's everybody's experience with that? Does Club Runner serve the needs of every Rotary club that will ever exist? No. I've consistently heard from people that the Club Runner site doesn't do all of the things that they need it to do. So what's the other option, right? There is another option. You hire someone. I know it's not the most popular idea. A lot of clubs are cash strapped. But if you can find a web firm, and this is, you do this in your businesses today. If your business needs a website, do you go and find a volunteer who's willing to build your website? No. You go out and you pay someone, right? Just like you would any other contract. You need to develop a relationship with a professional who's willing to treat your website with professional respect and create an ongoing relationship with that firm that can span many, many years, right? So a Rotary website is not an expensive thing. It should, if you go to a professional firm and you say, I need a fairly simple 5-page website that's built on top of a platform that my members can update, WordPress, Joomla, or a couple examples, it should cost you no more than $1,500, probably less, depending on how many billable hours depending on how you describe the project.
Another good reason for doing that is that it's really difficult to keep it updated, and if you don't keep it updated, it's not worth it.
That's right. Well, you're eventually going to have to identify, above and beyond the technology, someone in your club who's willing to create content, and this is something that I want to, this is very important, so if you're taking notes, write this down. Technology, the website itself, the code that builds your website is separate from content. So the words, pictures, articles, the gist of the content of your website is very different from the technology that runs the website. And you should not have one person doing both. It's bad. Because a technology person is very expensive. What I do costs costs a lot of money, right? You don't want to be paying me what I make to build websites to write articles. Not that writing articles is easy. Writing articles is a skill. But you shouldn't be tapping your technology person to update your website. It's not a good use of resources.
So you built this here. How much time actually does it take?
This particular tool, this is Eventbrite. This is a fantastic way to create a page where people can go and pay money to register for an event. They do your credit card processing in one place. They design the website for you. It's a very simple user interface that if you're familiar with Facebook, if you feel comfortable working on Facebook, you can build this right here. And notice, like in 2011, I would not describe this as the most pretty website. This is not the most advanced thing in the world, but it's okay. It works. It's good enough, especially for something that you're throwing together quickly, and especially for a one-off event that you just want to get people, forward them to a website, have them pay some money, register for an event, and then this goes away, right? You don't want to invest a lot of time, right? So Eventbrite is a fantastic solution. It's only one of many. It's eventbrite.com. This took me, I did this page 20 minutes to put together.
20 minutes?
Yeah.
That's not bad.
And this is how we did all of our ticket sales for this event. Just ticket sales alone, I think we did $1,700. And then we paid for catering was about $500. That's just off the top of my head estimate. I'd have to look at my notes. Does anybody have any questions so far?
So how did they charge for that?
They charge, it is per, so each ticket was $35, and I think we ended up getting back $31. It's not a lot, and it's worth it. Just to save yourself the administrative costs and the wrangling and trying to integrate PayPal or trying to integrate DACDB, which can do event registrations for you. I felt this was a much easier approach, especially for since there was only a few of us that were putting this event together, so we only had so much time. both. Just do it and be done with it. Move on. Any other questions? Okay. So now this is where we really started to use social media. So this is where we start promoting things through Facebook, start promoting things through email, start that sort of thing. So, in the previous session, Howard was saying, you don't want to send email unsolicited out to everyone in the district asking them to come to your event because they're not going to read it. It's not, unless it's some huge district-wide, service project that a lot of people are invested in. Maybe Polio Now, for example, is one that we do a district-wide email on. That's something people will read because they're heavily invested in Polio Now. They care about it. But if it's just a club project and you send a district-wide email, they're not going to read it. And I check the open rates. I can track how often people open up their emails that we send out. It's not good. So how do you create a relationship with people to get them to pay attention to your message on Facebook? This is old-fashioned. This is pounding shoe leather. This is getting out and talking to people. What I did was I have right about 6, 7 club members who are active in this group and who are willing to do work. So I divided up several clubs that were within driving distance. All my people live in East Valley. And I said, go to at least 2 Rotary Club meetings for me, approach your club president, ask them for 5 minutes to pitch the project, introduce yourself as a member of this new Rotary Club, this new generations, tell them we're open for business. And here's the most important thing. This is where I created value, right? I said, this is our event, this is what we're doing, we want you to come, but we're also open for business. So tell me what projects you're working on, and we'll come and staff your projects. So this is where the poll comes in, right? It's not just about even social, if it's on Facebook, if it's on Twitter, if it's over email. It's not just about saying, hey, come to my event. Hey, we're doing this thing. If you come on Thursday, there's going to be great stuff. It's about, you want to come to my event because I've done something for you. Or I say that I will do something for you. So this is where the poll comes in, right? So now let's get down to, we'll talk about Facebook for a minute. Thanks, Facebook. Okay, so all of you have used Facebook. How many people are on Facebook right now? Several of us, right? So if your club wants to start a Facebook page, right? And I know that's a daunting task. And frequently people say, well, how do we do that? And is it worth the time? And if you're going to start a Facebook page, the first thing that you have to do before you start promoting events is create value or create a reason for people to want to follow you. So you need to pay attention to the conversation that's happening on Facebook about Rotary, number one. Find other people, other clubs, other districts, other Rotarians who are on Facebook and talking about Rotary. So how do I do that? Sure. In the search bar, I can just type Rotary, and I will find all kinds of people who are currently talking about Rotary. They are either a Rotary page, they are a Rotarian, or they are a Rotary club. And this is Rotary International's Facebook. So now I go here, and I see all this great content that RI puts out every day talking about Rotary, right? First thing up here, get ready for World Polio Day with 25% savings on so on and so forth, right? So this is interesting content that that I know other Rotarians will be interested in, okay? All I need to do is take this content that someone else has written and pass it on to other people who would probably be interested in it. And by doing that, they now recognize, oh, hey, Michael, he talks about interesting stuff. He talks about Rotary content, things that I care about. So, once I've created a relationship with these people and they've started reading the things that I'm talking about, now they're 100% more likely to respond to something that I asked them to do because I've taken the time to give them value, right? It's just like a business. If a business today on Facebook sent you a coupon that you didn't ask for, you'd be like, I don't want your coupon. Why should I work with you? But if they've been putting out a lot of free content that you find that's interesting, and then they put out the coupon, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm now a much more warm prospect, right? And you guys all own businesses, you know what I'm talking about. Right? So what to create a list of people that I want to, that I know would be interested in Rotary content, I just friend people like I normally do in my day-to-day life. I know all of you in this room are Rotarians in my district, and you would be interested in this content. So I find you on Facebook, and I friend you, right? So, for example, let's find out. Hey, great. So you've all done this, those of you who are on Facebook before, you just send a friend request. Now that I've sent a friend request, hopefully that person will respond, and then now I can send them content that they might be interested in. By sharing it, I can post it on my wall, I can send it in a direct message. These are all, is everybody familiar with what these things mean, or am I losing people? Okay. Does that make sense to you guys? Or?
Yeah.
No? Okay. So Facebook is fundamentally about creating a list of friends, right? I search for these people using that interface, or I go to, here's another great example. So I already know that Alan is my friend on Facebook. I've taken the time to search for him. I've friended him, so now I have him on my Facebook page. I can look through his friends, and I can see, I know Cindy Harrison is a Rotarian, I know Joanne Klein is a Rotarian. I look through Chris Lamarge, I look through that list looking for other Rotarians, and then I friend them, right? This is not, you don't need me to do this for you. I went to school to learn how to program, in pretty complicated stuff. You don't need a tech guy to do this stuff. Just about anybody who has a slight interest in this can do it. So you go, you find all the people that are interested in Rotary, and you start sending them content that they would find valuable. I'll give you another really great example of somebody who's doing Facebook well. Okay.
There's Rio, all right.
Rio McCall. Rio McCall is the mascot of Tempe Rio Salado Rotary Club. And I'm not just pushing this out there because they're my parent club. They do Facebook amazing, okay? The first thing that I think they did a really great job with was they picked something that was visually interesting. Rio is cute. It's a parrot that is actually electronic that they will tell jokes to, and they can, this happens in all of their club meetings, they'll press a button and the parrot will tell jokes. They make videos of the parrot telling jokes. They take the parrot with them to events and have the parrot tell jokes. It's hilarious, and people love it, right? So who doesn't want to be friends on Facebook with a Rotary parrot? Is there anybody in this room that doesn't want to be friends with a Rotary parrot? I want to be friends with a Rotary parrot.
They have 5,000 friends.
They have 5,000 friends. So there's one Rotarian that manages this, Pat DeHaan. He sits down, and he will search for other people on Facebook doing the exact same things that I just showed you, and adds them, and then they add him back. And this probably, I would estimate, takes him an hour a day, maybe. It's not a lot of time. It could take less. Then once he has them, he pays attention to what they're talking about by going to his wall, right? So, he logs into Facebook every day, and he sees people talking about, Rotary stuff. And then he also puts out a lot of funny pictures, so I'm going to fast forward. So, here's a good one. So he'll go through his wall, and he'll find Rotary clubs. This is probably all in Spanish. He'll go through his wall, and he'll find other Rotary people who are talking about Rotary things, and he'll comment on it. So let's say he has 5,000 friends. I know one of those friends has got to be in Mexico, and they're doing a service project, building a well, right? And they'll post pictures on their Facebook page. He'll go to those pictures, and he'll just comment, "Great job. That's cool. Really neat," right? Other people in the district will be doing a dictionary project, and they'll post pictures about that. And he'll go and he'll comment, say, "Great job. Really cool." So because he's taken the time to comment on their photos, and they see that, you know how you get an alert when somebody leaves a comment or they say something to you. Now when he goes out and he wants to promote something, then they're going to respond, because he's taken the time to create that relationship. Does this make sense? Is everybody starting to see kind of how important relationship building is? It's not about just pushing your event. It's about building a relationship and managing that relationship. So,
Michael,
yes, sir.
so what you're saying is old is the new.
What's that?
Old is the new.
Yeah, absolutely. This is just, social media is not anything new. It's just a a technological solution to managing an old problem. It's how do we take the idea of managing a relationship between two people, and how do we make that the most time-effective, how do we create the most effective use of our time around that relationship? How do we use technology, email, websites, etc., to cut down on the amount of time that we need to manage a large amount of relationships? 5,000 people, that's a lot of people to try to keep a physical relationship with.
I remember Pat said that Rio is friends in every district except, was it Antarctica or something?
Yeah, and he has a hard time in Japan too.
Japan too?
Yeah, this Rio McCall has friends in almost every district in the world. And he'll talk to almost all of them. and just not only just promoting local events, right? But he's been able to find so many international connections. I know for my club, we're planning on doing this, we call it the Goat of the Month program. There's a Rotary club that's in Nepal. They live in a small village that has a need for goats, but they can't afford them. So they're $50 a piece. What better international project can you think of for a group of young people who maybe don't have a lot of money, but we have time?
How much for old goats?
I imagine it's cheaper. You can probably get a discount. But those goats will provide wool, they'll provide cheese, they'll provide milk for this village. It's a sustainable project, which is very important. And this is all through managing a relationship. Yes, sir.
When do you run into any expense with this?
Not a lot. Facebook is free.
Well, it can't be free. Somebody's paying for something. So where do you run into expense?
Keeping it onto Facebook, for all of us in this room, Facebook is free. Facebook is able to make money by showing you ads. So if you look in the right sidebar there, those are all paid ads. Those people all paid money to have their advertisement on the right side of that screen. So the pass is not...
They're always located there?
They're in some other places, but they're pretty unobtrusive.
Do I ever run into any money before I have a decision about doing it?
No. No, Facebook is completely free. So is Twitter. Eventbrite is free up until you start taking in credit card charges, but you don't pay any upfront money. It just comes off of the top of whatever fund you take in. PayPal is similar. I would say the vast majority of social media services are free to join and free to use, but occasionally there's what they call a premium or freemium service that might cost something out of any funds that you take in. So if you use...
Can I click on something and get an expense before I authorize that expense?
No.
Never.
Not that I can think of within the context of this conversation.
No, I believe you. I'm just asking. I can't be dumb and that kind of something.
Yeah.
And get a bill.
No. You'll never get a bill through a social media website. You can, there are paid services on Facebook, like for example, if you wanted to place an ad on the right sidebar, which there's Rotary clubs that have done that. If let's say, for example, I wanted to do a paid ad for the district, and I could say, okay, I'm going to pay 5 cents per click for an ad that appears on the right sidebar that's targeted at people your age within the state of Arizona. I can do that on Facebook, but that's a cost that I incur on purpose. I seek that out. I know about it before I set it up, before I pay for it. So no, you're not going to get a magic bill in the mail saying, oh, you owe money for Facebook and you didn't know. That doesn't happen. But that's a completely legitimate question.
You don't give a credit card or anything.
Yeah.
When you sign up, you don't really give you don't give your address. You don't have to give anything except birthday. You don't even have to give the year.
The only thing that you have to give is an email address and your real name.
Right.
But you cannot put your real name if you don't want to. However, I recommend that you do. But I will use this as a minute to segue into security because I know there's a lot of concerns about social media and security. All of these sites have features that allow you to limit the amount of information that you put out on the internet. The rule of thumb that I like to use is I don't say anything on Facebook or Twitter or anywhere that I wouldn't say in a crowded room. You go to a party, right? I'm not going to yell out my social security number in front of 100 people. I don't put it on Facebook. I'm not going to put my address on Facebook. I don't say, hey, at the end of January, I'm going to be traveling for 3 weeks. So, you know, just so you know, there's no one going to be at my home for 3 weeks. Don't put that on Facebook. You're going to get robbed, and that's happening. But, you know, just...
It's just inconceivable to me that all this stuff could be stored and out there for you. It's just inconceivable.
Well, it's not free. I mean, there's people that are paying for it. It's just you're not paying for it. We're not paying for it. You got to
free mail sends out to the web.
Now, Craigslist. Well, Craigslist used to be 100% entirely free. Now, if you're gonna, the only place you're gonna pay for anything on Craigslist is if you post that you want to fill the job position.
Right.
That's the only fee, and it was totally free, I think, until eBay bought part of it, and they're the ones that install that.
Yeah, that's another example. That's another good example of a freemium service, right? So it's free for everyone else, but there are some features that you actually have to pay for. I want to move forward because I got a lot of stuff to cover. We're hitting the end here. Okay, so you've created a network of people. You've warmed them up by creating a relationship with them. They now want to listen to you. So now, what's next? Where do we go from here? This is when you start promoting. This is when you start saying, hey, I've got this event that's coming up, and I want you to come, right? I said, like, I gave an example. One thing I think most people should try to do is pound a little bit of shoe leather. Get out there and talk to people and say, hey, we have an event coming up. I would like for you to come. Another, you know, then you start putting it on Facebook, and you say, hey, we have this event coming up. Here's a link to the event registration website that I created through Eventbrite or wherever. Now people can click that link and then go and register. They can also share that through Facebook. They can share it on Twitter. You can share it with your family and friends. You know, I think at the Boulder House event, we probably had 3/4 Rotarian, 1/4 was not, which for a Rotary event, I think that's fantastic. Right? So another really, really important thing that I don't think clubs are doing today is using event calendars. I'll show you an example of an event calendar on our website. So in this left sidebar here, there is a list of upcoming events. If you have an event that's coming up and you would like to promote it, there's 2 things that you can do to get your event on the sidebar. You can either talk to me and I will create an account for you on the district website, and I will walk you through the process of creating an event yourself. Or you can take the who, what, when, where, why that I asked you to write down earlier. You can send it to me or one of the members of the technology committee in an email, and we will put that up on the district website for you. This is a great example of pull marketing. I'm not just pushing an event out to people, right, through email that's unsolicited. It's on the district website. And if the district has done a good job, which we're working towards, creating value on that website, people want to go there to read information, then they will be exposed to your event because we've taken the time to make them come to this website, right? Facebook is the same thing for the district. If the district has done a good job of curating and presenting useful content on our Facebook, then when we put an event on there for your club, because you've sent it to me, then they're going to be likely to click through, find out more about your event. Does this make sense? Is everybody still with me? Okay, good. There is, for anybody who wants to give me their business card or email address, or I'll use Howard's email list that he started, there is a fantastic list that we've put together in the district of local event calendars that are on the web that people can post their events to for free. They are either through places like AZ Central, the Arizona Republic, Phoenix New Times, you know, they're media outlets, right? And they run calendars on their websites where you can post about all the relevant details for your event, including, again, a link to your registration, or a link to your club website, or a link to Facebook, whatever you want to link to, right? You can put that on these calendars to drive traffic towards these registration forms or whatever it is that you want to promote. Is that, everybody still with me? That makes sense? And this stuff is free because these, you know, the Arizona Republic, Arizona Central, they're always looking for content to put on these calendars. They wouldn't have a calendar if they didn't want people to put content on it. So it's just our job as Rotarians, as nonprofit organizations, to do the homework, you know, find these calendars and put our information on them. And again, that's something that I'm happy to share with all of you, you know, later if you just ask me for it. So here's another, and the last thing that I want to leave you with, and then we're going to break again. Writing content after the fact. So now your event has happened. Hopefully you had a great turnout. What's the next step? Are we done? Well, we are not done. Because if you want to build word of mouth, if you want to build momentum for your events, you want to create a relationship, or you want to create a reputation as an organization that puts together high quality events that people want to attend. So to get that idea out there, after the event is done, you want to create something useful and interesting that people will want to read about. That's an article, right? Or a YouTube video, or a really good post on your Facebook with a bunch of high quality pictures. So at your event, you should tap a club member, or 2 or 3, to be capturing content during the event, pictures, video, quotes from people, relevant information. Think like you're a newspaper reporter. I think, you know, imagine that you're a kid and you're playing newspaper reporter at your own event, and get all the relevant information that people might find interesting. Then sit down and write that out so that you can put it either on your website or the district website or wherever. And some tips for writing articles on the web. Articles should be short. Don't write articles that are 6 pages long. No one wants to read a 6-page article on the web. The average attention span for someone on a website is far under 5 minutes. If you're asking someone to give more than 5 minutes of their time, it's not going to happen. So short. Each paragraph should have no more than 3 sentences. The difference between reading in a newspaper and the difference between reading on a website is it needs to be easily scannable. People, they've done a lot of studies on how people read content on the web. It needs to be something that they can scan quickly, get all of the relevant details. They can dive deep and read the entire article word for word, looking for the really juicy bits if they want. But if they don't want to, they want to be able to get all the relevant details quickly. So your paragraphs should be short, no more than 3 sentences. If you find yourself writing sentences that have multiple clauses, let's go back to our grammar, right? So if you find yourself writing a sentence that has like 4 or 5 commas, that sentence is too long, you're going to lose people. So use bullet points. You all know how to use bullet points. Most of your websites or word processing programs all have a way to easily use bullet points, numbered lists. Use those things to break apart the content into easily scannable sections. Within each section, try to use a header. So, if you have your who, what, when, where, why, it might not be a bad idea to have above each paragraph a little underlined, bolded title saying who, what, when, where, why, right? To give someone, again, the ability to easily scan across the article and gather as much or as little information as they'd like. Because your job as creators of good content is to entertain people for the amount of time that they're willing to give you. If they're not willing to give you a lot of time, you need to deliver on that promise. Otherwise, they're not going to come back. So, write with as many of those audiences in mind as possible. Right? For, people who have long attention spans, people who have short attention spans. And then just put that, once you have that great article that you've taken some time and it's hopefully exciting, you put it on your club's website, or you put it on Facebook, or you give it to me and I will happily put it on the district website if you don't have your own website. And then you promote that again to the people that listen to you on Facebook, Twitter, wherever. And then that after the fact, they'll see, wow, that was a really great event. If they went to the event, they'll want to read about it. If they didn't go to the event, hopefully they can get some value out of the article that you've created, and now they'll want to come to the next one. So if maybe you lost some people and you didn't get them the first time around, you'll get them the second time around. Because they'll know that you create good content that's worth their time, that's something that they want to be a part of. Does anybody have any other questions? If there's one thing that I can leave you guys with before we break, you're not going to do this right. I'm just going to tell you right now. You're going to fail, but that's okay. You're going to pick yourself back up and you're going to do it again. And you can't, there's no failure on the internet that you can do that hasn't already been done before, so it's nothing to be intimidated by. These tools are many. They can be complicated. but they're not over your head. They're not hard to use. There's a lot of smart people that take a lot of time to try to make Facebook or Twitter easier to use. It's just a matter of you deciding that you want to use it and that you're going to take the time to learn it. I'll give you one example and we'll break. My father is 63 years old, so he's probably the same age as a lot of you in this room. He went back to school, and sorry, did I completely miss everybody's age here? So he's about the same age as a lot of you folks in the room. And he decided he was going to go back to school for computer programming, just because he wanted to, because he wanted to learn. It's not because he was a super smart person. He's not an engineer. He drove a truck his whole life. He was a bread truck driver. He just one day decided, well, I think technology is kind of cool, and I'm going to take the time to learn it. But most importantly, not because of his smarts or his education, it's that he knew not to be intimidated. That it's just a tool. It's like a circular saw or a screwdriver or anything else. It's just a matter of sitting down and taking the time to learn. So, hopefully you guys will take that back to your clubs and come to me if you need any help. Yes, sir.
I just want to reaffirm what you just said.
Yeah.
There's no substitute for doing it with quality. If it isn't done with quality, they won't come back.
That's correct.
They won't use it.
Yes.
And I see in too many of our Rotary clubs, we're trying to take the shortcuts. We're trying to do it the easy way. And that will kill you. We've got to put the time in to do it with quality, or no matter what we buy here, as far as our medium that we're going to communicate, it won't work.
I think you should take the time to do a good job, but I don't want people who are new to this process to be intimidated by that. I know, for example, I design large-scale enterprise class websites, which means my websites have a lot of moving parts. They're not 5 and 6 pages, they're 5,000 and 6,000 pages, right? When my team and I get together to talk about developing a website, we don't say, we're going to make the most amazing thing that anybody's ever seen ever, and that's just the end of it. We say, okay, here's a list of requirements, here's things that we know we can accomplish with the time that we have, so let's create something that meets those requirements that's, we'll do as the best job we can, but then we're going to iterate on it. So if the first pass you put something together, and it's pretty good, you did a good job, you did the work, but there's room for improvement, that's great, that's a win. There's no failure. If the first time that you put together an Eventbrite website and it doesn't look great, that's cool. I learned from this process how I can make this look twice as good next time. That's fine. That's a win in my opinion.
I'm almost afraid to ask you this. How can you get the effective evaluation of whether or not your site's a good site?
There is a tool out there called Google Analytics. It's fairly Google Analytics. It is a tool that measures traffic to your website, and there are metrics that will answer that question. Those metrics are how many page views you get, how many unique visitors you get, and most importantly, how many pages does a person view each time they're on the site, and how long are they on the site total. Those are metrics that will help you objectively evaluate whether or not your website is successful. I recommend that you ask when you have your tech person is building a website for you, or you hire someone to build your website for you, make sure that they install and know how to report to the club on Google Analytics so that you have that business intelligence.
A lot of people don't know this, but our newsletter, when you click through the newsletter on our district website, it logs you in. And if you go to different articles, we know who reads. We don't know who reads it, we know how many times the article is read. Am I correct?
That's correct.
So a lot of people don't really know that the district is attempting to learn and be aware of usage. But these guys are trying to help us get into the 21st century.
Oh, we're in the 21st century. We're just still in the aughts. We're not quite up. Yes, sir.
When we're reading our district newsletters, it also turn on our webcam, activate it so that they can watch us too while we're reading.
Watch you reading the district newsletter. That would be an interesting exercise. I think I'd want to see it. No, we don't have the ability to do that. Yeah. Okay, we're gonna break and everybody meet back here in 15. Thanks.
I'll just start out.